Welcome back to Movies TV Mad. You can follow me on X Twitter at Movies TV Mad and on Instagram and on Threads at Movies TV Mad X. A very warm welcome to Friday's edition of the Movies TV Mad Daily. Now, ladies, I want to pre-warn you, I don't want you to get excited, but I'm only wearing my boxers today because it's utterly hot. So the shirt and trousers thing ain't gonna work because I speak on here for 30 minutes without breaking or editing. I don't have editing software. I don't want to keep on pressing pause. It's rather unprofessional. So we're going to be sitting here talking for half an hour. Those of you who want to be present can be. Those of you who find me boring, find this boring. It's quite okay. You may go away and find some clickbait somewhere else. But today we're back to talking about James Gunn and Superman. Superman is my favourite character. I love him. I think he's amazing. I love the Christopher Reeve movies. I love Superman Returns. I adore Smallville, as you all know. Love Man of Steel. Did I mention Superman Returns? Superman Returns. Anyway, and Superman and Lois. Let's not forget them. That's been a unique kind of rare show as well. But there's a big movie coming out this July. A movie that I'm not really excited about. And I'm kind of angered and frustrated that it's going to be successful. It's a Marvel movie called Deadpool and Wolverine, the third Deadpool movie put together and starring Ryan Reynolds. Ryan Reynolds didn't know what he was going to do with the third movie, and then he found the hook. Hugh Jackman as Wolverine, even though Hugh promised he wouldn't return after Logan. Of course, there are no morals. Nobody keeps their promises in Hollywood when there's a bit of that to be made. It's tracking for a lot of money, around 200 million in its opening global weekend. So it's going to be huge. And here's the situation as well. This is going to put James Gunn and Superman under a lot of pressure. Because you'll hear the cope out there, it doesn't matter if it only makes 600 million. It doesn't matter if it doesn't make a lot of money as long as I enjoy it. Funny you weren't saying the same thing about Man of Steel. So, that's BS. This film has to finish off, at least globally, more than Man of Steel, or it's a failure. Finito. You can't be criticising the box office for Man of Steel for the past 11 years and say, well, it's okay if my director fails, and as long as I like the movie. Sorry, got to make more than Man of Steel, or it's a flop. As I said, love Man of Steel. But I almost love everything we've seen in Superman. So I even kind of like the early days of the Supergirl TV show, but it went current day in the end, didn't it? Big shame, Melissa Benoist was amazing. But yeah, she has the same opinions as the rest of those nut jobs, but I thought she was amazing, especially in the early first two seasons. Calista Flockhart was very important to that show. Once Callie left, the show lost legitimacy, if you ask me. The chemistry between Callie and Melissa Benoist was absolutely brilliant. Anyway, let's continue our conversation. So Deadpool and Wolverine, again, is going to put a lot of pressure under James Gunn. Because I think whatever Deadpool Wolverine makes, forget that it has, in my opinion, it has to make at least more than Man of Steel. That pressure should be put on Superman. But Mick, Deadpool and Wolverine is a third movie. It's a sequel. This is a first movie. That's different. No, I don't think it's different whatsoever. I think at the end of the day, I think, you hype yourself, your fans hype you. It's Superman. A Superman movie should be making huge money. And, you look at Superman through the years. I mean, I think the first one made around 300, nearly 400 million, Superman 78. Well over $1 billion if you transfer it for today's money. So that was a big hit. Superman 2 made less. Superman 3 made 100 million, which was still solid box office back then. Superman 4 was a disaster. Still love it. There's still amazing moments. That speech at the UN, absolutely beautiful. Christopher Reeve didn't do himself dirty, but they did him dirty. But, yeah, so But this, through the years, really since Superman 78, the money hasn't been huge for Superman. And it just needs someone to give us a great movie. And maybe that will be James Gunn, and maybe that won't be James Gunn. But this is a film industry, an entertainment business, yeah? It's a show business. It's not show friends, although you could have fooled me sometimes. They only seem to hire their friends and family, don't they? But anyway, so James Gunn's Superman is going to be put under pressure by Deadpool and Wolverine, because I think Deadpool and Wolverine, doesn't it come out in July around the same time as Superman? So we know why this Marvel movie is going to do so well. First of all, people like Ryan Reynolds, even though his latest kind of imaginary friend kind of children's movie is not doing well. But people like Ryan Reynolds as Deadpool, we know that. And bringing back Hugh Jackman is a win. I don't like the fact that this movie is going to be successful. I fucking despise Marvel. Yes, I've got all the MCU films. I used to really enjoy them. But as a competitor to DC, I hate them. I still remember the days when Stan Lee used to put down Superman. Even though if it wasn't for Superman, Stan Lee could never have invented Spider-Man and created Marvel Comics, right? With Steve Ditko, etc. But anyway, we were here first. Never ever forget it. But Marvel were clever. Stan Lee was clever. He created relatable heroes that are mainly based on Earth. Everyday people like Spider-Man. I get it. He took advantage of the Superman concept and made it more relatable. Anyway, so Deadpool and Wolverine, I'm not happy it's going to make a lot of money. It's not something I'm particularly excited about. We know what the film's going to be. Although there are some interesting facets to it. Because, and I'll tell you why, because I think this could change the MCU forever. This could be a kind of Flashpoint scenario. It is a multiversal movie. We know that. It's interesting, actually. It has a lot of kind of comparisons with last year's The Flash. Last year's The Flash really tried the nostalgia bait with Michael Keaton, and it did not work, because although Keaton was very good, the Keaton elements were very, very cool, it wasn't a good film. I think the performances were great. I thought Sasha Calais was a great Kara Zor-El and Supergirl. We didn't see enough of her, but as much as we saw her, she was great. And despite me never defending or justifying Ezra Miller's actions, he played two versions of the same character, and he did it exquisitely. But the film was not good enough. It was not good. And some of the CGI babies, by the way, were fucking horrible. But anyway, it wasn't a great movie, and it flopped. Quite right so, as far as I'm concerned. And then you had all those the AI, Nicolas Cage, and all that nonsense. I enjoyed that Nicolas Cage bit, actually. But it was nostalgia bait. It didn't work. But we can see with the pre-ticket sales that this movie is going to open huge. How huge is very, very interesting. And it goes to show you, if you give the customer something they want, they will buy. I'm not happy about that. I'm not happy that nostalgia bait sells, because as far as I'm concerned, I can go and re-watch Hugh Jackman in Bryan Singer's first two X-Men movies. But people are saying, but he wasn't wearing the yellow costume. I couldn't give a shit. Those movies were class, and I know Bryan Singer is utterly problematic, but I can still say that I watch the man's movies at the end of the day. So, yeah. So I'm not happy, because this movie being successful, this lazy nostalgia bait movie, tells Hollywood to make more lazy nostalgia bait movies. That's my problem with this film being successful, more than the fact that I hate Marvel. But it absolutely puts huge pressure, huge pressure on James Gunn. Now, it doesn't look like Gunn is going for nostalgia bait. I don't think Gunn likes nostalgia. I think Gunn doesn't like the way the industry's gone. I've heard him quoted before saying that Hollywood has been, making crap movies for 30 years or so. So he knows. Look, there's a lot of things I can be positive and I can be negative about James. There's things I do like about him and there's things I don't like about him. I think he's overhyped. I think he believes his own hype. I think he can be a tad arrogant. But He's good at what he does. There's no question about that. Can he do anything different? So I'm absolutely fascinated and intrigued to see this Superman film. As well as me being a Superman film. You put someone in, you say, I'm putting Superman in a film. I'm there, I'm going to watch it. I'm a fan at the end of the day. I want this film to be successful. And I'm hugely excited about it, but I do see the red flags. I do fear those red flags, and I have warned about certain troubling situations. But I think the casting is very, very solid. The reveal for the costume didn't go down very well. Not the greatest of costumes at first look, not the worst of costumes at first look. But let's be honest, nobody liked the Superman Returns costume. Some people loved the Man of Steel costume, some people hated it. So a negative costume reveal isn't the big L some of you James Gunn haters think it is. So I'm very, very balanced, and I'm looking forward to seeing David standing up in that costume. Then I can judge it properly. I want to see it properly. And people like kind of saying, oh, it was a weird way to launch the costume. I just think it was a tease rather than a launch or a marketing ploy. He wanted you to look out that window. He wants you to try and work out the clues. It's not rocket science. And I don't think it's the worst of costumes either. But I'd be lying if I say, wow, that is the best costume I've ever seen. But it's an interesting one at the very least. And I'm not a costume guy. I'm not someone who would not watch a movie because of a bad costume. Although I don't think it's bad, generally. I'm not really a poster person. I hear people losing their shit over posters sometimes. Don't care about posters. Don't care about aesthetics. I want a Superman costume. Of course I want him wearing a costume. He's Superman. But think about this. Tom Welling was on Smallville for 10 years as Clark Kent and refused to physically wear the costume. He never wore the costume. They CGI'd him in the costume from a distance in the series finale. He had the CGI top on as he ripped, the iconic rip, and it ended in a good place. Shame that Berlanti decided to put the blue kryptonite ring on him. Actually, I'm re-watching the Smallville episode a little bit later on called Blue. Be reviewing it on Twitter. I'll be typing out my review. It won't be a video. Anyway, so Tom Welling didn't wear the costume, and that was a great version of Superman, a great version of Clark. So you can do Superman without the costume, as long as he's got those qualities that we all look for in Superman. And I was watching yesterday's episode, I think it was called Wrath, and the end credits rolled up, and I noticed I'd been crying. I didn't notice. I got up, as I normally do after the rewatch, and I was crying. And I thought, shit, this show still means so much to me. I've watched Smallville. I've rewatched it so many times. It's absolutely an amazing show. You'd never get a show like that today. The people working on it really cared. But, so I don't think the costume is a vital component. It's important that people like the costume. I think the Superman Returns costume is a costume that's very light blue, very bright. It's got the right colours. The colours pop. But I don't understand how you go, because this is supposed to be a Christopher Reeve Superman, how you go from Reeves' iconic 78 costume to Brandon Routh's costume. I don't get it, and I never will. And I think, I like the Man of Steel costume. Again, would it have been the costume I designed? No. I would have gone for a more faithful comic book design. There's a lot of comic book designs. It's hard to choose the right one. You'll never please everyone. But they've never really been accurate with the comic books. But I think the 78 costume is my favourite. I don't think, I know. It's so basic, and that's why I like it. So really, the suit being liked by some, I don't think anyone loves the suit. I think we can say that. But I think I see that costume. I think it's all right. It works. It's okay. This is what James wanted. He wanted an amalgamation of different designs. The thing is, we don't even know if this is the final costume. We don't know if this is Superman in that picture. He looks weakened. No, a lot of people reviewing that picture skip over the fact that he looks weak. People are mocking the fact that he's taking his time. He's taking his time because something has happened to him. He's sweating. But, you look at the eyebrows. They've changed his eyebrows. Something is going on. I think maybe that is not Superman, or something really dramatically bad has happened to him. And as I keep on saying, it's all about context. And until I've got full context on what was going on in that picture, I'm not willing to cancel James Gunn or this Superman movie. But there's no question about it. Deadpool and Wolverine will put James Gunn's Superman under a lot of pressure because it's another Spider-Man No Way Home. Because you bring in Tobey Maguire, you bring in Andy Garfield, everyone loves it. It's a really good movie. It's a celebration of all the versions of live-action Spider-Man. It comes together, but it's Tom Holland's movie. And it really, really works. And it's interesting, they've been re-releasing all the Spidey movies. The first three doing really, really well. But Amazing Spider-Man 2, doing not so well. Spider-Man, the first one that Tom Holland did, the first film, not doing very well. It's not a good movie. It's a very mid-average movie. It's not a great vision on Spider-Man. If I'm being honest, I only like Tom Holland in Spider-Man No Way Home. And not because of the nostalgia bait, because I've been criticising nostalgia bait. What shocks me about Spider-Man No Way Home, it's a Tom Holland Spider-Man film. It works, it's dark, it's less funny than the other films, and it really, really works. Everyone's great in that movie. Doctor Strange is great in that movie. Everyone is great. I was never a big fan of Aunt Bay, but it's a really good movie. And I think if Deadpool and Wolverine goes that way instead of the heavy nostalgia bait, it will really, really work. But we will see what they do with that movie, but it's going to have a huge opening weekend. If it's shit, I'm sure all the shills and the influencers and the critics will say it's the bestest movie ever. But you know what I think of those people? I don't trust them. When they say a movie's good, I don't trust them. They've been slaughtering Kevin Costner's new Western at Cannes as they've been reviewing it, and someone's saying all these fanboys having a go at critics. We don't trust them. That's why we have reason not to trust access entertainment journalism. The Snyder Cut doesn't exist. Funny fucking thing, something that doesn't exist is in my blimming Amazon collection because I bought it and it's in my bloody 4K cabinet. If it don't exist, what's it fucking doing there? So how can we trust these people? The Wall Street Journal saying that the Snyder Cut was a myth. It was never a myth. It just needed putting together into a movie. There was multiple cuts of the Snyder Cut. We knew the guy had filmed the movie and we persisted. We and Zach won. This is what this this is the legacy of my channel, because very little, in a very small way, because I'm not the biggest of channels, I'm a very, very tiny marble channel, but I still believe I helped a tiny bit to release the Snyder Cut. Very, very small, and I'm proud that I stood with Zach and I stood with my fellow DC fans and Snyder fans, and that was great. And that was a great moment I'll never forget. I did a video, remember? Breaking Justice League, the Blu-ray, and I was very proud. I promised you I would do that, and I do that. It's somewhere if you can find it. I don't know where it is. It's somewhere in my collection of crazy videos here on YouTube. So make no mistake, James Gunn will be under immense pressure from Deadpool and Wolverine because it looks like it's going to be big. If it's a shit movie, it will open huge and it will have a BVS kind of drop-off. We will see how it goes, but it looks to me that this could be a huge movie that changes the MCU forever. I don't know, but it is a multiversal. The multiverse is the huge theme, and of course that helps with the nostalgia bait as well. So the more money this film makes, the more pressure on James Gunn. Because people saying and coping and saying it doesn't need to make a lot of money are idiots. Of course it needs to make a lot of money. It's a business. They don't own Superman WB. They're not making a Superman film because they like Superman. It's nothing to do with that. They bought DC Comics decades and decades ago because they thought it was a valuable commodity that they could make some films from one day. And you know, they had when WB bought DC Comics all those decades ago, I think it was in the early 70s or 60s they bought DC Comics. You know, they said, right, you know, we'll leave it for now, but one day this could be something that we can do. It's the ultimate IP mining and farming when it was done in a clever, smart way. And DC, no matter what people say to you, has made a lot of money for WB over the years. The Batman TV show from the 60s, still selling on Blu-ray, DVD, doing very well. You know, companies own it, buy it, you know. And so I know I think that was Fox, wasn't it? But WB did make some money from that. as well. There's Burton's movies. I think Batman Forever did pretty well. Obviously, there's the Nolan movies. And, you know, whatever people say, BVS did make nearly 900 million. Man of Steel made a profit, not the profit they wanted, but made a profit. You know, Aquaman made a profit. Joker made over $1 billion. There's a lot of DC movies that have done well for WB. So it was a good kind of thing to do. They bought it for the business. So this movie, Superman, needs to make money. So people saying, and you know, it's funny, because I say the same thing. I don't care how much a film makes as long as I enjoy it. And that's an important thing, but I'm not doing it for cope. I want a Superman movie and a DC movie to make enough money so they can make more. That's always my mentality. But now it's about measuring dicks, isn't it? That's what box office and reviews and Rotten Tomato scores have become. Fans measure dicks. Well, Marvel, look at the MCU. They always get fresh on Rotten Tomatoes, yeah, because it's corrupt. Because there's some Marvel movies that had no right to get the Rotten Tomato scores that they did. Captain America Civil War is a rip-off of BVS. Gets full scores. BVS, basically the same movie, a movie that the MCU ripped off, gets a rotten score. How? What's the difference? Do you see what I mean? Do you see how corrupt it is? But anyway, you know, that's all in the past. So, Superman was always under immense pressure. And as we get closer and closer to this movie, it's kind of okay now. He's still making it. He's teasing people. People are getting excited, especially the applauding seals and all those people. But yeah, there is immense pressure for James Gunn. And no matter what people say, no matter what his friends in journalism say, this film has to make a lot of money. And I think whatever Deadpool and Wolverine makes, there's no reason why Superman shouldn't make it either. Of course, you could have done a similar thing to Deadpool and Wolverine. This could have been a celebration of Superman. You could have had all the actors who have played Superman kind of launch this, like Spider-Man No Way Home. I kind of suspected that's what we were going to get. It doesn't kind of look like it, but who knows? Anything is possible. Imagine it. You know, you've got Henry Cavill, you've got Tom Welling, you've got Dean Cain, you've got Brandon Routh, you've got Tyler Hoechlin. You can have them all in the film. And it's a passing of the torch to David Cornsweet. Imagine that. It would be amazing. But I don't think they're going to do that. Then you've got a big chance of making the kind of money that Deadpool and Wolverine made. Definitely Henry Cavill. Henry Cavill's interesting, actually, because he doesn't seem to be a big box office draw. Past couple of movies haven't done particularly well. So that's an interesting thing as well. He's certainly got his fans. I love Henry's Superman, so it's interesting. I think there is a big difference between Cavill, Hoechlin, Brandon Routh, and Hugh Jackman. Hugh Jackman is huge. You know, Hugh Jackman is the Christopher Reeve of Wolverine and Logan. There's no question about that. No one is ever going to be able to top what Hugh Jackman has achieved with that character, thanks to Hugh. But, yes, he's problematic, but without Bryan Singer's vision for that character in the first two X-Men movies, it would never have worked. And, you know, Bryan Singer cast Hugh Jackman. That's another thing. You'll be celebrating Bryan Singer's Wolverine this summer. Of course, you're going to forget about that, aren't you? It's only when it's convenient when you look down on people and judge people. But never mind, you enjoy the bestest movie ever. But we will review the movie here on Movies TV Mad. I will suffer it. I will go and see it. I don't particularly want to, but I will. Because I'm not happy with the state of cinema right now. And I think that Deadpool and Wolverine is a lazy, nostalgia bait movie. I think that's all they're doing. And it's interesting what kind of direction they go here. I hope at the very least it does reinvent the MCU and gives, you know, who knows? It could be crazy. You could, you know, shockingly, you could have Robert Downey Jr. turn up and it's the old school Avengers back and they reset it. Anything can happen because they know, this is what they know, because this movie can be big, but then they go back to the other crappy movies, right? But if this movie was to reset the original Avengers, that would be huge. That would be huge. Everyone would be excited. And, you know, the MCU would most probably get its peak audience back again. There's no question. Deadpool and Wolverine is going to make a hell of a lot of money. Despite me not wanting that, there's no point me living in denial. It's going to happen. It's going to be successful. It's going to be horrible being on social media and having to deal with people saying, they said cinema was dead, but look, the same old shit, it's one movie. But if they were to use this multiversal movie to reset the MCU the way it was after Endgame, then they would have something huge. And that would put even more pressure on DC Universe. But yeah, James Gunn, make no mistake, is under immense pressure. James Gunn knows he's under immense pressure to set something up here, to create a successful DC Universe. I said this wasn't the best of ideas, that just let different directors have different visions of different DC characters instead of having a connected universe. But they've decided a connected universe is the way to go. So obviously they should know better than me as they work in the industry. And I don't. But it's just my opinion. And everyone's entitled to an opinion. You can have your opinion, I can have my opinion. We can heavily debate that opinion, but as long as we're respectful to each other. So it's a huge pressure. Nobody knows how this film's going to work out. But I want you to understand, I'm not like other people. It's like when I talk about Doctor Who. I want Doctor Who to be great. I want it to be successful. I don't want it to be shit. I don't want Russell T Davies having a go at fans and calling them homophobes and racists. It's horrible. I don't want this film to be bad. I still don't agree with what they did with Henry Cavill and a lot of the behaviour that's happened since the inception of the DCEU. But beyond that, I want to see great movies. I want to be excited to hear about movies again, because it's not an exciting time to be an entertainment pundit. It's a very depressing time. I've told you before, I go on Twitter, I see all these announcements, and they depress me. People getting gigs that shouldn't be getting gigs. They're probably going to cameo that goddamn awful Taylor fucking Swift, one of the most nastiest people in entertainment. I can promise you that. But everyone thinks she's the second coming. So that doesn't excite me either. It's a nostalgia bait movie all round. But we'll see if it actually changes the MCU forever. Something that is changing is DC live action. And James Gunn is going to make a big statement. But we're also going to see this brand new animated series, first of all, from DC Universe, from James Gunn, this year at some point. So that's going to be a little kind of, I forgot what it's called. I always do this, don't I? But I forgot what it's called. But it's going to give us a little sneak peek into James Gunn's vision. But, it's about a group of people that Amanda Waller puts together. The Suicide Squad Stroke 2 kind of thing. So again, is there anything different here? Is James Gunn being a one-trick pony again? We will see what happens. That's the only way you can judge something, is to watch something, which means they'll make money from you. I understand that. If you want to boycott it, it's up to you. But for me, I love DC in general. I don't believe in these people anymore. I don't believe in the industry generally. But I want to believe in them. I want to believe in you. I want to believe that you're there for the right reasons instead of crying about Trump. I don't like Trump, far from it. But I'm fed up of hearing about him. They've even made a fucking film about him. Who's going to fucking go and see that apart from like-minded idiots like them? I want you to be better. I want you to go back to giving us the great entertainment you used to. We need good people working in the industry. But I've told you before, we may not be able to fix Hollywood until Hollywood is outside of Hollywood. Until creators create studios outside of LA and California. Because of their ideology, it's sunk. And I don't think it's going to be fixed. And they keep on gaslighting their own audience. But I want to believe. So, I think people are going to love Deadpool, Wolverine. That will put pressure on James Gunn's Superman. Because it has to be good. Even better. And, this is what people were saying. Let's let James Gunn do this movie. James Gunn will make a better Superman movie, everyone's saying, than Zack Snyder. Well, we're going to see. And I can't wait for next July, just over a year's time, where the talking stops and James Gunn has to deliver something great. He has to deliver the best Superman film ever seen. The best comic book movie ever seen. He really has to deliver. And there's no question about that. And we will see. Will he deliver a dud? or will he deliver what he's been promising, what he believes he's capable of achieving? That's the exciting thing for me, because once it's in that cinema, it's up to us. We are the kingmakers, everyone. We can sink something or we can make it successful. We will see what happens next summer.